Since watching the Halloween episode of Close Enough, I decided to review another episode, but this time from season 2, called Houseguest from Hell, centering around Emily reuniting with her friend from college, Becca, but at the same time, she has a difficult time communicating with her because Becca is self-absorbed. Way too self-absorbed. To the point that whenever Becca's around with Emily, she always talks about her life, even though it's at appropriate times that she doesn't pay attention to anything happening in her surroundings. You know, the reason that this episode came into mind for me to make a review out of it is mainly the fact that this character in particular is beyond deranged to the point that it's the type of character that works in the world of regular show and the lore of Close Enough being similar to regular show. Emily is the main character of this episode, and the motivation that she needs to do is reunite with her old friend, but at the same time, she's in a toxic relationship with her, judging of how Becca is taking advantage of her, all the while still being self-absorbed, to the point that Emily just doesn't know when to put her foot down. The lore that I refer to when it comes to this show being different than regular show is, while the characters may have similar traits from the regular show series when it comes to obstacles, the obstacle in this is that Becca is from hell, and the title Houseguest from Hell really showcases the type of character Becca is, considering that with her being too self-absorbed, it's honestly difficult to make sense to her when she is making the sense in her own point of view work out for her rather than other people. When Becca broke up with her boyfriend after taking the advice from Emily, she crashes to Emily's place because she's homeless, even though there's a lot more going on with her that the other characters don't know, and it shows that she is so unpleasant to the point that she's too self-absorbed to only do things for her own advantage, and the reason why she has that advantage is mainly the fact that she's from hell. And when she calls out Emily for not listening, it doesn't change the fact that she kept going on and on, not understanding until why Emily wasn't listening due to her talking too much. The reasons of this episode showcasing the roles in Becca is the showcase of how much Emily needs to realize that with her being in this relationship is a lot more toxic, judging of how she wants to do the right thing, but at the same time doing the right thing with her friend Becca, which at the end of the day isn't really the right thing considering of how toxic Becca really is. Emily is willing to be with Becca regardless, and if it's either the fact that she couldn't find another friend that is close to her, so when we see her being with Becca, it really feels like that she sees something that can make things a lot more better later on when it comes to her time with her in college. But at the same time, judging of how that she isn't the type of character that doesn't put her foot down, she is a lot more unique when it comes to the other characters, considering she's a lot more different. When I say characters, mainly the characters from regular show, because even if I do not remember all the characters, I know that watching a few clips of the characters and how they interact and portrayed have a different direction, while Emily also has a different direction. What really centers around Emily's development in this is the fact that she gets a daydream of her being a bad person by abandoning Becca because she is pregnant and she will be a terrible person, that she will get arrested. But at the same time, Becca doesn't even realize that Emily is married to the point that she has more of an understanding of raising a kid, and yet at the same time Becca just is too self-absorbed to understand the big picture, especially since that she was with her in the hospital when getting birth. The fact that Becca seriously never sees Emily as the type of person in her point of view, and mostly something else that isn't special, showcases of how much Becca is a really terrible character, but done in a way that showcases of her being from hell. Things get a lot more worse when one of Luke's friends come over to get the baby out of Becca, which gave Emily an idea by having to use Becca's phone to make it look like that Becca typed to Luke that she wants her back. And when Luke appeals, Becca suggests that he should crash the place, which only makes things a lot more frustrating for Emily, which comes to a point where she puts her foot down due to how ungrateful Becca is. This episode showcases the toxic relationships that Emily goes through when it comes to Becca being a toxic person that she should have never made friends, even as roommates. Like, this episode really showcases that Close Enough can take directions that regular show didn't when it comes to toxic relationships. Granted, it may be the fact that I didn't watch the show completely, but the way I see how this show handles it, no one is going to mention the words hell or having characters from hell appear in regular show. Granted, there were some occasions where characters do go to hell in some other capacities, but at the same time, they wouldn't be able to reach the levels of maturity when it comes to older people watching shows like this in comparison to people who enjoy regular show as teens. Emily's breakdown on kicking Becca not only out of her house but also out of her life, and the fact that Becca just doesn't even care whatsoever, just showcases of how much she can't be able to think clearly when someone is lashing out at her. And to tell you the truth, Becca's a Karen. Let's just be real, she's a Karen who can't be able to think clearly, and after seeing multiple Karen videos online, Karens are honestly one of the worst things to come out in people, and I'm noticing them a lot more in shows like this. And the baby's ugly. If Karens give birth to a baby, they wouldn't be ugly in any other capacity in the real world. But if they're from hell, I'm pretty sure these will be the babies that would happen in the real world. Not exaggerating. While this episode isn't one of my favorites, considering I've started watching this show, I have to admit that this episode does a good job when it comes to toxic relationships, and having Emily being the main focus that really made me see her character a lot more when it comes to her past before getting married, while giving birth, and dealing with a toxic friend who is way too self-absorbed. And let's be real, if Becca ends up returning, which she won't due to the show sadly ending 2 years ago, she wouldn't contribute much, and her only appearing once is honestly more than enough. When it comes to reviewing another episode from this show in the future, it will be focusing on the other characters. Don't know which character it will be that will take center stage in one of my future reviews, but at the same time, the unexpected will be surprising. I'm giving this episode a 7 out of 10.